Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Dynamics Fortnite Fridays.
Good morning, Bart. It's great to see you this beautiful Friday.
Yes, it is. It's actually kind of warm. We had rain overnight here in Minnesota, which this time of year is welcome compared to the snow that we
There's
usually get.
also, yeah,
Did
this
you get
winter has
any of
been a
that
weird one for everyone.
hail and tornadoes and everything else I saw moved through Texas and Oklahoma yesterday?
We got some bad weather, but the roof of my car is fine. That's all I
That's
care
good. That's
about.
good. No new dents.
No.
Well, what fun jokes do you have today?
All right. So, why is everyone so tired at the end of the third month of the year?
They haven't been saving daylight? I don't know.
It's a lot dumber than that. That was a good
Okay.
answer.
Okay. Well, what do you got?
31 days is a long march.
Oh, there we go. Very time appropriate since we are now in that month.
We
Yeah.
are. Yep. Can't believe it.
Well, mine actually is a little more related to this weekend, remembering on Sunday morning to move that clock an hour forward. So mine was, let's see. Why are many Americans so looking forward to daylight savings times this year?
Um, I don't know. You're a lot better at guessing than I am. Tell me.
Uh, with the current economy, it might be the first thing they've saved all year is this hour.
Oh no. That's
I don't know. It wasn't really very good,
that one hits hard
but
though. That I feel that.
anyway, well, let's go talk about something we actually know something about. How's that?
All
So let's
right.
share my screen. And I guess I have to flip this on so that people can see that screen. All right. First up, there have been some nice improvements in Copilot Studio's computer use capability. So, in the computer using agents, they have had these following things be added to it just in the last week or so. You can use Claude Sonnet along with a more modern OpenAI computer use agent model. So the brains behind having it decide how to use the computer or the browser is smarter. So big step forward. Many things that you'd want to do when having it take over the browser or the computer require you to authenticate. And so there are two ways that you can do that. One is there's a built-in credential storing mechanism. So you can save usernames and passwords for websites or applications or whatever else directly in the computer use agent module. But if you prefer, you could also store those in Azure Key Vault and just retrieve them from Azure Key Vault when they need to be used. So wonderful stuff. The one thing it doesn't do is take care of MFA. So you're going to have to figure out if you're going to use that way to authenticate that the accounts are going to have to figure out a way to have MFA turned off at least when the computer behind the scenes is authenticating with those creds. So there probably will be some way to tackle that at some point, but at least I'm not aware of how to get past MFA for those types of auths. But it's nice that we can go securely let you authenticate into things as long as you can find a way to get user authentication to work with username, passwords, or some things like that. Another thing that is really nice is we are logging computer use stuff with a way to replay the session and with images of what it's been doing. And a lot of that stuff even ends up out in Purview. So it's not just logging within the computer use inside of Copilot Studio is the only place to find that stuff. So pretty big deal for those kinds of things, getting those sort of bigger enterprise grade needs for logging and authentication and smarter models to take advantage of these capabilities. The other thing is we are using Windows 365 for agents, if you would like to, as a cloud PC pool. So you can have a whole pool of various PCs out there to accomplish the tasks that you give to computer use now when they're kind of getting all queued up. So a lot of pretty cool things showing up in computer use. So this a really nice update there. Another one that didn't really have a blog article, but I noticed and thought it was worth calling out to this team since we have a lot of folks that pay attention to the show for a lot of the governance capabilities in Power Platform. If you have a Copilot Studio agent and you would like to reassign that agent through an API, so you could even make a flow or an app or something like that that called this API to do the reassigning with a little more user interface interactivity, you can now do that. If you prefer to just do it in a command line interface or whatever else, at least you've got an API to work with if you don't want to log into the user interface to be able to reassign agents. All right. This one is really more of an advertisement for a really good half-hour conversation that Ryan Cunningham, if you don't know, he's been around the Power Platform world for quite some time, and for quite a while was really just talking about the Power Apps piece of the framework, but is now really talking a lot more about the platform as a whole and what a managed platform means for modern organizations to take advantage of. So get the full story by hitting play on this half-hour video. But essentially, he's really talking about how the things that organizations need from technology right now is really in flux with all of the agentic capabilities that are coming forward from all the various vendors and the way AI is improving so rapidly. And at the same time that the needs are changing about how to think about what gets built and where to infuse AI, the way you're actually building the software itself is changing rapidly as well. And you got different roles that are now able to go in and do things and build things that can take advantage of things that didn't used to be able to do it. So software development is changing and software is changing simultaneously, which really is kind of an interesting mix. And he's right. But the other thing that's really interesting about it is, and I think he's right, that if you can do the development on a platform that can give you more agility than just plain old code, and at the same time introduce guardrails and governance capabilities that allow you to not only do things faster and more nimbly, but more safely and enable more people to participate in all of that, that's really kind of what you're after from a vendor. And I think that's a really good advertisement for what Power Platform is trying to bring to the enterprise is all of that capability to kind of all classes of users, whether you're pro dev, low dev, or really just a business person trying to get their work done. You can now kind of actually even make some of your own helper technology stack to play along. So thought it was really good, and I encourage people to go listen to it. Another new capability, this one very squarely on the pro dev side of things, is that if you are a Power Pages developer and you use GitHub Copilot and the CLI, or you use Claude Code, there is now a Power Pages plugin for that command line interface or Claude Code. And if you're in this command line interface, you're probably not punching the command lines anymore. You're actually having GitHub Copilot just do the commanding as you need. But this would let you, create sites, update sites, connect to live data, add authentication, deploy sites, all kinds of different stuff working in that sort of AI-driven UI to stitch together and then even work with your Power Pages site. So pretty big step forward for those people who are doing that kind of stuff and leveraging our Power Pages. For Power Apps, this was actually kind of nostalgic and good to see that there has been pretty significant recent investment in the Canvas app control framework and trying to make lots of minor improvements in look and feel, in functionality, and kind of what developers who use these things in code first ways expected for behavior and maybe didn't always get. That we've done a lot of re-rendering in, I think it was 9 or 11, I don't remember exactly how many, but we updated a whole bunch of controls to make them way better. So knowing that we're actually investing in the PowerFX framework that is deploying these controls in Canvas apps to do things is great. The other thing that was really nice to see in this article is that there's going to be a really nice blog post or maybe announcements at Build of what we are trying to do moving forward with the Power Apps framework and how much of that is going to vibe coding versus more of the PowerFX driven development, and what else we're doing with a bunch of other controls that didn't make this wave of updating, but are still very much on the list of, in the very near term, getting pretty major updates applied to them to take advantage of, along with a better, more streamlined experience for makers of Canvas apps to be able to bring up their app in the Maker Studio and know that a new control exists and just hit an inline update and have it bring in the new control and hopefully even refactor if there's any refactoring needed of the PowerFX to make the updated control work correctly in one click. So all of that is kind of announced in that blog post, so worth a quick look. Power Pages has another new update. Ever since Power Pages got a web application firewall, that web application firewall had to be deployed kind of in conjunction or at least past the point of a process where you had enabled the caching, content delivery network caching. So you had to make the CDN live before you could make the WAF, and they were dependent on each other. If you didn't want a CDN, you couldn't have a WAF. Well, they have now decoupled those, so you can make a WAF without a CDN, you can make a CDN without a WAF, deploy them kind of however you want, and that when you convert a website from trial to production, it will automatically turn the WAF on and make it enabled by default. You can still go turn it off if you want to, but it's kind of a nice thing that they realized anybody who's going to run a production website is going to want the WAF on. And if they didn't take the time to do the CDN, that was kind of why they didn't kind of make it default in the past, as they had that dependency. Nice to know that's gone, and we've now defaulted it. So great to know. Work queues. Power Automate has a concept called work queues. The main consumers of these work queues are Power Automate desktop bots that go out and do all that robotic process automation work. And you can have armies of these bots out doing all kinds of different things. So being able to assign them to queues to take on work as a whole army to just chow down through a bunch of queued up work items is essentially what this is all about, with monitoring capabilities, proactive alerting, all kinds of other cool things for what we are doing to make work queues work better to allow you to do more enterprise grade things with Power Automate. So nice update there. For Power Platform, that's my list of updates for today. I've just got two out there for the customer engagement stack, and both really have to do with the contact center platform. It's gotten an awful lot of love lately. First one is understanding that when you are doing customer service work, a lot of times there are kind of private or compliance related parts of a conversation that you would rather not have transcribed or recorded, especially if you needed to maybe do a consult with a colleague. You really don't want that part recorded. You want the customer side of it and maybe the post-transfer recording to happen, but maybe not during the consult and some of those kind of things. So we have set up new capabilities to understand, when you're in a bridge situation, turn off transcription and recording, or just turn off recording but keep transcription going, or whatever else some of those things may be when you are bringing out these capabilities for both bringing in a new one. I guess these are both sort of related to bringing in an external contact and doing a consult and things like that. So nice to know that the compliance and other needs of these kind of enterprise grade work processes that happen in contact centers, we are building out functionality that better supports them in the contact center functionality. And last thing, we have had now for over a year this thing called the Desktop Companion app for contact center capabilities, but it only worked if you were using Dynamics as your contact center platform. That we now would allow you to use our contact center platform, which we have, at least for the same year, been able to run that as the kind of call routing, handling, distribution system for not just calls, but all kinds of contacts from customers without being the CRM. So you could embed that in Salesforce, embed that in ServiceNow, embed that in other tools that might be used to handle the CRM portion of what was going on. Well, that desktop app that gave you a lot more resilience of the telephony part was Dynamics Tide, and you could only run that if you were doing Dynamics on the CRM side. Well, it's been improved so that you can now run that, and it will understand how to tie in and manage all of that better resiliency, better quality phone capability, well, especially on the phone calls, but any kind of routing being tied to the machine that is running the software for the customer service rep, no matter which CRM system they're using. So big update there too to make that even more resilient. And that's my updates for today. I will stop sharing and turn it over to you, Lauren, to go through your batch of updates. I saw there were a bunch today.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've got a bunch for y'all this morning. All right. Can you see my screen? Looks like just
I saw you shared, but now everybody else can see it too. There we go.
Okay, perfect. All right, so starting out here, coming to GA in September 2026 on the business performance side of finance is MCP for ERP analytics. So this is where agents can be used to access ERP analytics data and tools in a more structured manner. So agents can connect with tools like Power BI and BPA, and this exposes the full semantic model to support consistent interpretation of data from your agent. So again, coming into GA in September 2026. Then core financials. Coming to GA in June is the ability to preview matching results during the automatic bank reconciliation matching process. So users can select rules that require review, user checks, and have a preview with an option to approve or reject these matching rule results. So just further strengthening our reconciliation matching functionality there. And then this is a big one, coming into public preview in April 30th. And then GA in September are enhancements to the account reconciliation agent. So as we know, this agent combines things like intelligent matching, guided workflows, resolution of different discrepancies. And we're now investing in a more improved agent orchestration, higher quality matches, expanded module coverage, and really better visibility through things like reporting and evaluation. So we want the agent to really evolve from, what's now guided automation model into a fully autonomous reconciliation orchestrator. So it'll be able to handle things like multi-mode scenarios and really more complex enterprise accounting processes. So with this, we're going to have a refreshed workspace with a more streamlined navigation. It'll have improvements like better status tracking, better visual indicators, and contextual insights alongside suggestions that are generated by this agent. Additionally, we're going to have intelligent matching enhancements. So this is going to include higher accuracy for one-to-one, one-to-many, and many matching with fuzzy logic, better tolerance rule support, and autonomous exception classification. We're also adding bulk approval and rejection of matches, where you can multi-select exception handling, bulk journal entry creation, and confirmation flows that are improved. And then we're also making more targeted investments in the onboarding of this agent to help with the consolidation of the stream of tasks, alerts, anomalies, and required human intervention and approvals. So better prioritization logic as well. And then also MCP integration, where MCP can enable the agent to evolve beyond just siloed tasks into really an end-to-end reconciliation orchestrator. Also, we're going to have the addition of an inventory module subledger into the account reconciliation workspace, along with suggested actions from the agent when it comes to inventory. And also internal telemetry dashboards as well, where we're going to have automated detection of customer patterns and early warning signals for anomaly spikes. Additionally, our evaluation frameworks are going to be strengthened, where you have scenario-based tests across modules, stress load evaluations, precision recall tracking for match recommendations, and regression coverage for consistent agent behavior. And then as we look to the future, further releases are going to expand module coverage to fixed assets, project accounting, intercompany as well. The agent's really going to evolve toward an autonomous end-to-end reconciliation flows with more cross-system ingestion as well. So really exciting to see that, we're taking feedback and applying that to see these new agentic tools really be broadened with their capabilities and make them work better for our customers. So a lot of updates with this agent. And then the last thing we have here, oh no, that's it for finance. Then for F&O, cross-app capabilities, we are building custom scenarios with our archive framework, and this will be in public preview in March and GA in June. So this tool aids in addressing unique regulatory data that's really specific without waiting for scenarios that are delivered by Microsoft. So by using the archive framework, our customers can build their own custom archive solutions that cover, more custom specific tables in D365. Then moving on to Project Ops. So we have a number of public previews coming into GA. I'm just going to name them off here. I won't go into too much depth, but coming in May is going to be functionality to mark a task as complete from the grid view, the way Project for the web currently does by default. Then the ability to import projects in MPP files into existing projects. And then last coming in May is enabling users to import tasks from existing projects. So users no longer have to create these tasks manually every single time. So great way to automate that. And then just scrolling down here, we've got a lot of features coming into GA in September 2026 that just got announced. So adding time zone agnostic fields for projects and project tasks. Additionally, when you use external scheduling in Project Ops, you can now use the same copy functionality that users of the default scheduling engine have. And then next, customization that's directly within the task details pane. With this feature, there's not going to be any need to open forms outside the task grid. And then next, we've got some the investment project feature. So when you complete the project, the system automates the conversion of WIP costs into fixed assets. And then the ability to update key project fields according to their requirements during the copy process. So fields here will no longer be locked for editing. And then last, the ability to use what-if analysis on estimates. So you can simulate various estimation scenarios by adjusting pricing dimensions. So a lot of updates here we can look forward to in May and September. Then moving on to BC. All right, so electronic documents. In BC, we've introduced service participants to company information. BC currently identifies the receiving company for electronic documents by using VAT registration number, or GLN. And this really isn't a consistent approach across countries and regions and doesn't fully support local requirements where different identifiers or schemes are expected. So with those updates, we will further be able to support those unique situations. And then in governance and administration, coming in public preview this month is the ability to migrate to the cloud from any SQL database. So Business Central Cloud migration tooling is going to be extended to let developers build data migration engines for SQL-based source systems. These custom migration engines are going to be implemented as extensions and can be packaged, installed, and reused through AppSource. So a great way to enable consistent delivery across customer projects. And then the last thing I have here, this article, Building Smarter Observability for Agentic ERP World using D365. These are some pretty significant expansions in batch workload telemetry in D365 that were just announced. So, historically, ERP observability really focused on basic monitoring. So whether a batch job ran, whether it failed, whether an alert fired. And that was usually enough when workloads were isolated, largely manual. But today, ERP batch jobs really sit at the center of a highly interconnected, automated business process. All sorts of processes like financial close, inventory synchronization, settlements, downstream analytics. And the problem with that is when something slows down or gets stuck, traditional monitoring will tell you that it happened, but not exactly why. So users just end up guessing, doing things like digging through logs, and just basically reacting after the business impact has already occurred. And that's really the gap that this update's addressing. So what's new here is a significant expansion of batch workload telemetry. So it's integrated directly within Azure Application Insights. So instead of only emitting high-level job status, the platform is now providing execution-level behavioral signals for batch processing. So this includes start and stop events, so you can see how long jobs actually run, not just whether or not they completed. It includes richer failure context that correlates execution with info logs, and also signals for throttling, thread availability, and queue depth. So this is especially important for environments using priority-based scheduling. The key point being that telemetry flows into customer-owned application insights, so teams can use their KQL queries, dashboards, and alerting pipelines without having to adopt new monitoring stacks. So just as examples, if high priority jobs are completing late, queue telemetry can reveal congestion or misconfigured priorities where non-critical work is starving time-sensitive processes. So if jobs, maybe they appear in a waiting state, this telemetry can show thread exhaustion, meaning that the job isn't broken, the system's just saturated. So instead of guessing root causes, teams can see them directly. And over time, this is going to enable things like trend analysis, earlier detection of capacity bottlenecks, and more accurate capacity planning as well, based on actual patterns, not just assumptions. So, really foundational for the next phase of ERP operations, where our product and how it's used is headed. So as our customers start using AI agents to monitor systems, those agents really need high fidelity signals, and expanded batch telemetry provides the raw data required for things like anomaly detection, smarter alerts tied to business impact, and agent assisted diagnostics. So not just about better monitoring, it's about preparing ERP systems to operate reliably as we move to a more agentic automated future. So bottom line, we're moving observability in D365 from did it fail to how is it actually behaving. So highly recommend reading this article with some more specific examples and use cases for how these updates are going to move forward if this piques your interest. But at a high level, it really shows that we're future-proofing this product and how it's going to be used as it evolves with AI and agents, which is, as we all know, where we're headed. And look at that. I've got 1 minute to spare. I'll stop
Good
sharing.
job. How about
Yeah.
that? You covered a lot of ground there and not very long. So
I did. I can talk fast when I need to.
that's right. That's right. Well, thanks, Lauren, for jumping in for another episode. This has been fun, and looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks where we can cover it all again with whatever is new for the next fortnight. So with that,
Perfect.
have a great couple of weeks.
Thanks, Bart.
Bye. All righty.